Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Daryl Talks podcast. Today, we are doing a first. We are doing a remote recording, and I've got the wonderful Molly. She is an online coach with a twist. She does posing, but she's going to tell you a lot more than what I am about it because I just find it so interesting. So, without further ado, welcome, Molly.
Hello, thank you so much for having me on. I know it's been a long time coming.
The link is from the episode The Bodybuilder. You are Lou's coach.
Yes.
You're not just online with Lou, are you?
Mainly, yeah. So most of my coaching is online with everyone, but I do try to see people in person as well when I can. So because, well, I've actually moved now, but we weren't too far away from each other. So she did used to come and see me in person, not like really often, but obviously like when she was like in prep and stuff. See me in person, I can have a good look at her then, which you can always see a bit better than what you can on, especially her phone. How she ever did so well with the video she would send me on that bloody phone is beyond me. It's like something like from the Flintstones used to use or something.
Like a 33.
But yeah, so seeing her in person is obviously always good. And do a little bit of posing in person as well as online. But most of what I do is all online. Like I don't really PT them as such. Most of my clients are bodybuilders, so they don't need someone to hold their hand in the gym. I do PT as well a little bit, but yeah, I'm pretty much all online now.
So you're like the finishing touch coach.
So I don't know if I'd say that. So I do work with people that are like newer to the gym as well, but I fell into like coaching bodybuilders as such. Obviously compete myself. And with it, like I do have people that come to me and they've been going to the gym for like maybe 6 months or not very long at all. And they want a coach. Now, obviously I PT'd before I coached online for years. And I think the main difference I find is that people that want a PT, they may be a little bit more anxious about going to the gym. So personal training is great because you're there with them. But I do find that actually coaching online, I'm able to offer a better service. When I was PTing in person, you've actually got a very limited amount of time when you can PT each day. So people will come in at like 6 in the morning, 7 in the morning, 8 in the morning, and then not until the evening. And you've got this big gap in between. Now, what's really great about my job is I can look after those clients plus more. I'm not just doing like one session a week with them. I'm essentially there for all of their sessions because I plan all their sessions, do all their food, nutrition, supplementation, all of that stuff. But they can train like whenever they want. And they're not stressing about like making a PT session and then they're running half an hour late and then you get a half an hour session because life happens, doesn't it? They just train when it works for them. So some of them train at like 6 o'clock in the morning, some of them train in the evening, some of them train in the middle of the day. So you've got that. I'm able to help a lot more people essentially. So it's quite nice really. And it works out better for them.
So we'll go into that a lot more in detail, but thank you so much because me trying to explain it would have been embarrassing for you and me. So before we start, usually we go through a few icebreaker questions.
Okay.
So if you could have dinner or spend a day with 3 people, dead or alive, who would they be?
So you said about these questions, and actually this is probably the hardest one. Like if I can spend a day with someone that's dead, it would probably be my granddad. So there's one person. I don't even know. I don't really care for famous people. So it'd probably just be like my granddad, my dad, and my boyfriend. Probably just spend a day together. It'd be nice.
That's so sweet. So you're not big on celebrities?
Yeah. I'm used to it. If you ask me who my celebrity crush is, I have to go to like default answers that are people that I don't really fancy, but they're the people that I know the names of.
Yeah.
I just don't really care.
No, I get that.
I don't know. I'd probably go for that. Yeah, which is probably for everyone listening quite boring, but there you go.
Yeah, but like it's sweet as well.
Yeah.
Like,
We'll go with that.
you know, I've been married and with my partner for about 20 years now. So if I could have a day off with anybody, from anybody, It would probably, no,
Yeah.
I'm only joking.
No, fair.
Yeah. So second question is, what would be your go-to karaoke song?
Yeah, so I don't do karaoke.
Why?
Like because I can't sing and it's embarrassing. And I don't drink, so I can't even be like, oh, I was just really drunk. Like it would just be horrendous for everyone involved. But I did. So I did do. We had this. Ricky got me this game for Christmas. It's called Served, and then you give your partner like a card. It's so good. And one of them. Have you done it?
No.
It's so good. Honestly, get it. It's so funny. But he served me what it is. I had to do a performance for him. So I did sing. I rapped M&M's without me. And like, I thought it was great.
I do have a little confession. This evening, whilst I was rocking my son to sleep, I was singing "Cleaning Out Your Closet" by Eminem to him.
I think that's a great song for a child to listen
to like a lullaby melody. I don't know why it popped into my head.
I think that's great. Like I listened to Eminem as a child. It's definitely way too young to be listening to Eminem, but it turned out okay. Maybe I swear too much and maybe we can put that down to that fact, but I think that's fine.
He has a song all about that.
Yeah, exactly.
So third and final question. What is your biggest ick?
See, that one's easy. It's Crocs, because I don't understand how they were a thing years ago and we all agreed that that was disgusting and that shouldn't be allowed. And I know by your face that you're going to turn around and be like, yeah, I've got a pair of Crocs. And then we decided, good, because people decided, oh, this is fashionable and we should wear this out in public.
And I can't understand.
Oh, that's fine. Like, I don't have, because they're not. They're just, you just wear them to the beach like flip-flops. They're not trying to be something. But I think it's the like audacity of Crocs to be this fashion accessory that we can wear with a dress and think it looks good. And and then people wear them to the gym and then I get even more annoyed with that. But I think Crocs is my biggest ick.
That is a really good one. I think this is like maybe 45 episodes or something now. Nobody said Crocs. That's incredible.
Say all over. They think it looks great. I'm telling you now, like, it doesn't. Like, you're lying to yourself.
What about young people with Crocs? Same thing?
What, like a toddler?
Up to preteen.
Oh, no. I think, like, if you're, like, 3, that's okay. But I think over the age of, like, 6, I think, no. Because when you're little, like, it's not, fashion's not really a thing. It's, like, practicality of a child.
And it's when your parents put you in.
Yeah, when you're older, I think, no. Like, you can make better decisions for yourself. Like, you can wear trainers now.
Fair.
Wear trainers.
What about like if they're gardening or at the beach?
Flip-flops on the beach. Like, there's nothing wrong with flip-flops. Just wear them. If you're gardening, like gardening shoes, whatever. I don't know. I'm not really a gardener, so I can't really help you with that one.
We survived before Crocs, and I'm sure we will survive long after they have faded.
We will, exactly.
Well, thank you so much. That's proper tickled me, how strong you felt. So let's get into it. Where does your story begin? Where were you brought up?
I was born in Solihull, and I moved to Devon when I was 6. So I lived in North Devon then until 2018, moved to Exeter for a bit, and then moved back again. So I'm pretty much from Devon, I would say. Some people will disagree, but I would say Devonshire. Yeah, so I'm from there. I started, all through school, I was into sport of varying levels. I did a lot of gymnastics, trampolining, pretty much anything though. Like, I just enjoyed doing whatever sport. Never really cared about food, just ate what I liked. I'd be like after school clubs, doing gymnastics, trampolining like 3-4 times a week, plus going for runs. I obviously grew up, left school. Didn't really do much for a bit because I didn't really know what I should do. Started swimming. And I swam for quite a few years, actually. Got pretty good at swimming. And then there was a gym. I wasn't competitively swimming. Like, I'm not very good at swimming front crawl. So I probably wouldn't have been very... And I can't dive. Like, I just cannot dive. So competitively was never an option for me because those are two really key components. But breaststroke, I'm actually pretty fast at, or I was, not so much now actually. But I just used to enjoy it. And I used to go down the pool like a couple times a week, swim a mile, sit in the sauna for a bit, have a chat with people, and go home. And
What
it
a
was all
life.
right.
That sounds great. Apart from the swimming a mile, that sounds great.
Yeah, that's what I'd like to set myself. I just like, right, do a mile, then I'm good. And there was a gym, it was like a leisure centre. So there's a gym at the pool as well. And some of the guys that used to, there's like a group of us that used to go around the same time, 2-3 times a week. And like we'd all get chatting and stuff in the sauna. And they're like, why don't you come to the gym? And I was like, no, I'm not going to the gym. Like, I don't want to do that. Never want to do that. And I had quite a few friends of me that would train, like try and talk me into it. And I'd always be like, no, that's not for me. Like, I'm not doing it. And then eventually I caved and I went a couple of times, but wasn't really into it. And I was like, I need to set myself a goal. So I set myself a goal of, I did a colour run and I did a Tough Mudder the same year. And
What's the colour run? Sorry.
it's like a 5K, like blow up obstacles and they throw like paint at you as you're running.
That
So
seems
it's
fair.
good fun. Yeah, it was quite good fun, to be fair. You come out and you're covered in like this coloured powdered paint stuff.
There's like a festival that does it as well, isn't there, in India or somewhere?
Yeah,
like similar thing, you know, with it.
Yeah, so it's like it was good fun. It's obviously like 5K is not very far, and like when you're doing obstacles in between as well, like it's actually a lot less because you're not running the whole time. And the obstacles are like bouncy castle slides, and there's a picture somewhere of us on like what are they called? Those big ball things that you jump on.
Oh, like the
Yeah, like kids space hopper.
space hopper. Like
So like you're on like space hoppers and stuff. So we did that, and then I did a Tough Mudder as well with a couple of friends, and that was the first thing that we set for ourselves. And like we raised some money for. So my granddad had Alzheimer's, so we were like, right, I want to raise some money for Alzheimer's, and that's why we set that goal. And that's what got me in the gym, because I was like, if I do this Tough Mudder, like it is a bit harder than the colour run.
Doesn't know what a Tough Mudder is. Could you just sort of briefly explain it?
Yeah, so I think it's between 10 and 12 miles, depending on where you do it. And it's an obstacle course, but it is pretty hard obstacle. So it's like pulling yourself up over walls. There's like monkey bars, but they drop into water if you fall off them. There's things you have to like swim under, and like then there's like mesh on top of you, so you have to like pull yourself through it. There's
is it like a bit like, you know, like in films when the Marines are going through their little assault course, but that over long distance?
Yeah. I want to say there's like 10, 15 obstacles. So yeah, it's like that. It's some of them are quite like ice thing. That was probably the worst one. I hated that. You literally go down a slide and you're in like this. I thought, it says ice bath, but it won't be that cold. And then I got to the top and there's a man stood at the top, literally like just throwing ice into this big skip. And I was like, great, I hate this already. You go down the side, if you go all the way under, come back up, and then to get out, you have to go back under, swim under this thing and get out.
Is ice like your kryptonite as such, being cold?
I just hate being cold. Yeah, I just hate it. So that was, I wasn't very impressed with that one. The rest was fine. But like the ice, I was like, nah, don't like that. I think the last time I did it 3 times. I think the third time I just was like, I'm not doing it. I'm done.
So what made you so tough then?
I don't know. I don't know if I am.
Is it tough or is it like stupidity?
Probably more stupidity, yeah. I think that first one I did was more like I said that I was going to do this to raise money. I had a lot of people sponsor me. So I was like, I have to do this. Like I have to get through all of it. So I did. And I did do all the obstacles the first time I did it. But yeah, so that's why I just started training and everything. Yeah.
Like the other way around. They join the gym because they want to like get fit and stuff. And then they're like, now I'm fit enough to do a Tough Mudder. You've gone, I'll do the Tough Mudder. Do you know what? I could do that quicker if I do it a bit.
When I knew I had to train for it. Like I knew I just go on like park runs and stuff. And I did used to run quite a bit back then. I don't at all anymore. But it's more that I feel like when I first started, it was like, you're a girl, you should run. And I was never very good.
So when did you go from like gym, I'm gonna now do that for a job?
I don't know, it's a weird one. So I was working in retail, and I knew that's not where I wanted to be. And I knew I enjoyed sport. So when I was at school doing my A levels, like sport was one of those, it was like, that could have been what I went to uni and did. I didn't, because I didn't know what I would then do with that degree, apart from being a school teacher. And I was like, definitely do not want to do that.
There.
So I just didn't go to uni, and I just started working. And I worked in retail for years, and I always knew it wasn't what I wanted to do. Yeah. So then because I was training, I just thought, well, maybe I'll do this. Like, maybe I'll just look into working in gyms and like fitness instruction and personal training. And I went off and just did my qualifications. And then the company I was working for actually went bust as I was doing my courses.
Wow.
So I got made redundant. I was actually one of the lucky ones, because I got out a lot earlier than everyone else. But I got made redundant, and I was like, okay, I'm doing this course. I'm going to have to just go with it now. So I did get another job. Actually, a friend of mine owns a hotel. So I rang him up and I was like, I need a job, like, help. Got a job there. And then I just went around to local gyms, and I was like, look, I've just qualified. I want to work. And then I got a job at a ladies only gym, and that was the start then. And then went from there, moved to Exeter, worked in leisure centres around Exeter. And once I got into bodybuilding, I knew this job existed. And I remember saying to my manager, like, do you know what? I actually think I just want to be an online coach. And I think that's where I want to go, and I want to coach bodybuilders. And I remember he said to me, he was like, yeah, well, loads of people want to do that, but it is really hard to get into, and like, you're going to have to really work hard to do that. And I was like, okay, just maybe one day.
It probably is really easy to get into, but really difficult to make a success of it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because then, like, you know, it's like anybody can do a podcast. Not everybody does it. So, yeah, that guy's a dick.
No, I think the thing is, he didn't mean it like that. And
No,
like, he was just very like to the point person. And I think he was saying it more like to look out for me, like, don't just quit your job and just try coaching online, because it's not that simple, which is completely right. But I think with coaching, it's very much now, like you said, anyone can do it. And it's not a regulated industry. So you don't have to be qualified to do it.
Really?
You don't have to. Yeah, which is absolutely mental.
Not regulated whatsoever. I could just rock up to somewhere and go, I can make you lose weight. Yeah.
And people do it.
No.
Like, yeah.
Fair enough. Fair enough. If you're like a bodybuilder or something, you've been through it. But for someone like me, who's like got a belly, like I've got like a super hot dad bod going on, like me rocking up and just be like, looks like you could shed a few, you know, like real.
Honestly,
how it goes.
Do it. Yeah, why not? Just get really good at marketing.
Yeah, what was it about bodybuilding then?
Again, like a lot of these things I've got into almost by chance. So I was obviously training and everything. And I'd got more into strength training, and I'd fallen in love with that aspect of it, and like ditched the cardio, stopped running, all of that. And there was a show on. Yeah. There was a show on in Bideford, right? And it's not happened since. And a friend of mine, he was like, you should go and watch this show. Like, I think you'd really enjoy it. And he was doing some powerlifting there and whatever. We're still friends to this day. And he's like, just go and like sitting down the road. I think you'll have fun. So I was like, okay, cool. Like, I'll go. So me and my friend went, and we watched the powerlifting and everything. And we watched this bodybuilding show. And both of us just came away. And so this woman was sat in front of me. She went to the same gym. And she turned around to me after the show, and she said, I go to loads of these shows. I really enjoy it. And I was like, all right, cool. Because you go to my gym, don't you? And I said, oh, yeah, I think so. Like, no idea who this woman was. And she said, you should do this. Like, you'd be really good. Like, you should do it next year. So I went, okay, yeah, I'll do it next year then. So that's what got me into it.
No way.
It wasn't like, it wasn't anything. Obviously, social media was around, but not as much.
Now, well, and maybe not so much even now, but a couple of years ago, it just, after COVID, just took off a little bit, didn't it?
Yeah.
Like the bodybuilding aspect, and people really, there was a little, there's always been, I think probably the last 10 years, there's been a lot of gym goers, like casual or like pretty much professional gym goers now. I noticed that a lot of my friends and stuff were competitions, they were going through preps and it got really like sort of close. Whereas before bodybuilders were on telly. Does that sort of make sense? I just sort of noticed that there was more people doing it.
See,
and
the industry's grown and it hasn't at the same time. Like I think there's a lot more shows than there used to be, like a lot more shows. But I don't think the shows are as busy, but I think maybe that's because there are so many now. Like there's a show like every weekend now, and they didn't used to be like that.
Is it a bit saturated, do you think, like the show bit? Because Lou was telling me about how many different like regulators or like how many different types of WBCC and LMNOP things there are.
Yeah, there's loads of variations now, and they all want something slightly different.
I was going to say, do you push towards a certain one because you know how to, or does it fit with the client? Are they clients?
No, clients. Yeah, for me, I put them where I think they fit best. There are some coaches out there that will exclusively really prep for like one or two federations, but for me, I just like that doesn't work for me. Like I think because each federation has a slightly different look, I want to put the client where they fit best and where they enjoy it as well. So that's my thing.
How can it differ?
Muscle mass and condition mainly. Some federations want you like, so like I compete in bikini and there's like different classes out there. So firstly, obviously the class that you're doing. So for me at my age as well, like I'm 29, so I'm only doing open. I'm too old for juniors, too young for masters. I'm just doing open. I obviously can't do beginners or novice or anything anymore. So for me, it just goes down to like my look and where my look fits best. Whereas when I've got clients like Lou, who's a figure girl, you've got like, some of them have got like 3 different figure classes. So it's then got to be like what her look fits in what federation there. I've got some ladies that are older, so they want to do a master's class. But if they're in their 50s, some only offer a master's at 35 plus. Well, actually, like that's quite young for a master's competitor.
That makes me a master.
Yeah, to be honest, like I think it's a bit too young. And I get it because it's like they've probably had kids and you can have like a bit loose skin around your tummy and things as a woman. And the men's is actually normally a bit older. But if I've got a 50-something-year-old woman against 35-year-olds, like the look's going to be different. So I'm then going to put her into a federation where they've got a 45 plus or a 50 plus category, because she's then going to be against women her own age. So it's things like that as well. You look at ages or if I've got junior girls, like actually they might want to do a junior class, but that's only offered in bikini. It might not be offered in figure in that federation. So age is one of them. Condition as well. Like some federations just like really, really hard conditioning, which is great if you're someone that brings really, really hard conditioning. Like I'm not. Like I don't.
What's conditioning? Sorry.
How lean you are.
Oh yeah. So is it done on like a percentage, like of body fat, or is that just?
It's all done on literally visuals. So you're literally judged as a panel of judges, and essentially when like if I'm sat in the judging panel, you get like 10 people come out in front of me, right? And then you're judging to the criteria that federation fits. And then you basically just mark them where you've got them 1 to 10. So I'd be like first place 1, and then last place would be like 10. And then they add up all the scores, and the person with the lowest scores wins. That's basically how you judge.
Oh, okay. Well, and you've done judging?
Well. Yeah, I did loads of judging. Not so much last year. I only did 1 show, I think, last year. The year before that and the year before that, I did a lot. So yeah, it was good fun.
Like? Is it proper bitchy? Like behind the scenes?
Depends who you're judging with. I've had little arguments with people, I won't laugh.
Why?
Well, because I can spot when you're being like really biased and you're judging, and then I'll kick off about it. So
you're a vigilante.
Well, it's very, very rare it happens. Like, to be honest, like it happened once, and me and one of the other guys like picked up on it, and I was like, to me, if you everyone's going to have their own opinion. And like, I might put this person first, you might have them third. That's okay to me, as long as you can back up your reasoning. If your reasoning is just like, well, they look more bikini, or they look more figure, or they look more men's bodybuilding, that is not a reason. Do you know what I mean? Like, because I just think they are. That's not a reason. Like, if you can sit there and say, well, they're more balanced in their physique, they're leaner, their posing's better, whatever it might be, if you can say that and you can back that up, cool. Like, I don't have an issue. If you can't back up your reasoning, that's when I have an issue.
Fair.
I think that's fair. Yeah.
No,
But
very good.
very, like, very, very few times. But to be honest, like, actually the judging, like, we used to have such a good team, and we literally travelled the whole of the UK together judging show, and we'd have a really good laugh.
Is it a paid role?
Depends who you're judging for.
Okay.
Most of them will pay your expenses and feed you, but yeah, it's not really paid in most cases, but some will pay you. But it just depends who you're judging for, really.
It's probably easier because all you guys are so lean anyway. They won't have to feed you much, will they? So,
well, the thing is, like, depends who you're sat with on the panel. Like, if you're in off season, like, you're eating a lot.
yeah.
And a lot of the people I used to sit with, like, some of the guys that I used to get on the best with were like retired bodybuilders. I judged with a lady. She was like a women's bodybuilding, like IFBB pro, like back in the day. Like, she was wicked. So I got to sit next to some really cool people with really cool stories, and we used to have a laugh. Used to put the world to rights, and it was good. I'm still in contact with them. Or for me, nice. Like, I've got clients that are competing. I competed myself last year. And when I say I was away like most weekends with it, especially towards the back end of the year. And I could be judging one show somewhere on the Saturday, somewhere else on the Sunday, and then you're getting home late at night. And especially when you live in Devon, like,
there's everywhere's north, isn't it? Like,
yeah.
Obviously, I'm from Cornwall.
Yeah, yeah. So, like, you're judging a show, like the nearest show is like 2 hours away, and you're like, wicked.
Where did Ricky come in and all this? Because he's also a bodybuilder, or is he just a really good Nick? Extremely good. No. Do you coach him?
Yeah, he can. Yeah, I do now. Yeah.
How does that dynamic work?
I think it's all right, really. I think it's fine. I think you've got to be the right couple to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
I think you've got to be the right couple to do it. I don't know if it would work with everyone. And I think I think with us, like, his last show, like, I end up like peeking him into it anyway. And then just decided, like, I'll just do your off season and see what happens. But to be honest, it's very different, I think, coaching Ricky to a lot of other people. Firstly, the amount of food he eats.
Are you predominantly female coaching?
Yeah, I don't coach. Ricky's the only one that I'll coach for stage. Like, I won't, mainly because, like, if I'm honest, it's the drug use. I don't know enough about the male side of the drug use for me to be able to coach men on stage. So if it's like a male lifestyle client, I do. But also, I think you've got to know your niche. And I think if you look at the market, most men are coached by men. Most women are coached by men or women. So realistically, like, when you're doing your marketing and all of that, and you do stuff on social media, and also like the courses and the things that, like, because I'm still doing educational stuff like all the time as well.
Yeah, I've learned quite a lot from your stories and stuff. So thank you.
Oh, thank you. Like, you've only got so much time on your hands and so much that you can put into it. And for me, like, I would rather put that into being a really, really good female coach and actually understanding female hormones, because I think a lot of coaches out there don't understand it at all. And being good at that, then and understanding the female PEDU side of things, to be a really good female coach, then trying to coach everyone. It's like that. It's like jack of all trades, you're a master of none, aren't you? So I really look at it as like, actually, I'm probably not going to get many male bodybuilders come and work with me anyway. Ricky obviously works with me, but
does he get mates rate?
I doesn't even pay, cheapskate. But
Sorry,
realistically, I'm
am
not
I
going to
allowed speaking now?
Oh yeah, he can hear you. He doesn't
Oh,
mind.
cool. Just one thing about Ricky. He is the smiliest bodybuilder I've ever seen. Ever. I mean, I don't know whether it's just your photos that you put, but he has always got this cheeky grin. Absolutely
Yeah.
fantastic.
Yeah, it's because he's got good teeth. I think
I get
he
that.
spent that much
Like,
time wiping them,
it's
he
like,
would show them off.
yeah, yeah. Whereas I'm pretending to be a granddad, like most of the time, just like. But yeah, I just thought an observation of mine is that he is always smiling, whereas most bodybuilders,
Yeah, and I don't really know why.
they're
I genuinely find
hungry,
it.
they're starving.
Yeah, it's like when you're on stage, like, as a woman, I teach them, I'm like, smile, like, show that you're enjoying it, I'm there. And men just look, there's been times, like, I've had, like, male bodybuilders on stage and I'm trying to judge them and I'm genuinely scared for my life. I'm like, you look like you want to kill me. Like, this isn't fun.
Yeah,
But
that's
I don't
that's the
know.
general. What I think there's definitely a preconception of a male bodybuilder, which is ever so slightly arrogant. You know,
Yeah.
the sort of like, the joke about them always walking with their lats out, that
Yeah.
sort of thing. But nowadays there's so many. It's so different now.
Do you know what I think it is? I think it's more people are aware. Like, I think that a lot of people used to see bodybuilding men and women as well and think that they were just like really arrogant, really up themselves, really love themselves. And like, obviously, you're going to get one or two people that are like that, like you will in any walk of life. But
Yeah,
I always say this, that like the biggest guys in the gym are the friendliest guys in the gym and the friendliest women, because they're not, most of the time, they're not doing it because they think they look great. Actually, a lot of people do it out of a place of like hurt and pain. And actually, it's a way to, like, mental health wise, that works for them to keep them in a good space. I've got friends that are bodybuilders that used to have like really awful like cocaine addictions or alcohol addictions, people that were on the brink of suicide before, and training actually has saved them from those issues. And I think people don't realize that. They just see it as someone that's just like locked in and focused on the gym and that's all they care about. But that's a better addiction than what might have been in the past.
yeah, absolutely. And it's almost like self-harm in a positive light. Does that make
Yeah.
you know
No,
what I mean? They're
100%.
pushing their bodies to an absolute limits that not anybody else will do.
Yeah.
Like it's out of that sort of, they need that release, that which they would get from self-harm, or like you said, action of some sort.
Yeah.
No, that's
Absolutely.
you don't always think of it like that. And I know that we're not
No.
speaking for all bodybuilders ever, but there's got to be something in it, isn't it, to put your body through that? Because can you is it totally different for a female to a male then? What their body goes through during prep, comp, and those sorts of things?
Not really. Like, for a woman, obviously you've got added things like your hormones, your cycle. Like, some women, a lot of women lose a cycle through it. And then obviously when your hormones are out of whack mentally, that can be really challenging. But I think that's I think then it's also how they deal with it as well. But I think that's different person to person anyway. But yeah, I don't think, other than that, I don't think there's really like, you're getting lean. Like, when you're a woman, like, you are going to be on like very, very, very few calories. When you're a man, you're going to also be on very few calories, but it's relative to the size of the person. Like, Ricky's always going to be on more calories than me when he preps, but it's because he's like twice the size of me.
Yeah.
So he's going to be.
Do men
But yeah, I
have
think that's
different
good.
like classes as well? So do you have like
Yeah.
not bikini, like what was it you do?
Bikini, yeah. So there's
Yeah,
like
is
men's.
there a bikini for men's?
Yeah. But I think they'd get really offended if we said that. But yeah, there is.
I mean, talk about like pick your battles, Daryl.
I just say it how it is.
I'm just
Yeah,
trying to
men's
simplify it for people that may be listening, because like I've seen your competition photos, and I am definitely going to the wrong beaches if that's what bikini should look like.
That's the thing. And actually, like, what's quite interesting is at the end of last year, they actually brought out another class because they were like, bikini has got too much. It's too muscular, it's too lean, and it's not what bikini was meant to be. So they've actually brought out this new class now called Fit Model, which is essentially, and the photo they used was the Miss Bikini Olympia from 2015. So 5 years ago, 10 years ago.
Yeah.
That's now what they're, I don't want to call it like the entry level class because I think that puts it down, but like that's now what the smallest class is Fit Model, and then you've got bikini because it isn't, when you look at the top girls, the pros and stuff, that is
Yeah.
it's not achievable naturally.
I imagine like a
It's
bikini girl to be like Baywatch toned. Do you know what I mean? Or like something along. I know that's really probably controversial, but that's how I would imagine it. What these girls look like is incredible in their muscular, their leanness and everything. But
yeah.
I wouldn't describe it as a bikini model or like a bikini. Do you know? Does that? Am I saying the right
Yeah,
thing?
and it's not. No, you are, and it's not like when it first came out. It was a toned physique, and it was like conditioned, but like still nice and full and nice tight midsection, nice shape. But like you said, not really lean, not serrated glutes, not massive muscle mass. And like with all the classes, they get bigger, they get leaner year on year on year. So they've brought in this new class to say, okay, like this is actually like a bit more achievable for everyone now. So they brought that in, like I said, the end of last year. I think there's only been a couple shows of it in at the moment, but to give the option to people, because bikini is like I said, it isn't a bikini beach body at all.
Yeah, I'm with you. It's just interesting. I've got more questions on the bikini man. The man. Is that like
physique it's called?
men's physique? Sorry,
Yeah, yeah.
is that what Ricky does?
No,
I'm
so
sorry.
he's actually like one of the bigger guys. But men's physique, they wear board shorts, so that's again meant to be that beach look, that
Leg
healthy.
day. Less leg day then, if you got shorts on.
Yeah, so supposedly it shouldn't be, but let's be honest, it is.
That's why I wear trousers. Like if I had decent legs, I'll be in my pants all day long.
Fair enough. And they're meant to still have a full leg in the short, but obviously they could train their upper body more. But that's meant to be that look that you'd find on the cover of like Men's Health magazine.
Yeah.
So that's that kind of look there. So it is smaller, but like, let's be honest, them guys are still absolutely jacked.
Oh yeah. Like,
but yeah, you kind of
that. It is a lifestyle, isn't it? It's not just a pop to the gym a few times a week. You can't get to that level just by popping to the gym a few times a week, can you?
No, unfortunately not.
What about once a year?
Yeah, probably not like once a year. I think maybe more than once a year. It's going to be needed, yeah.
It must be a real struggle balancing like having a job, being a bodybuilder. Yeah, I just can't imagine. It must be really tough.
I think it can be, but I honestly think like you choose your heart. And I think that it can be difficult doing it. But actually, I've got a client and I use her as an example because I honestly, like, out of everyone, I'm like, how do you do it? She works for like some company and she is like all over the world, like on a weekly basis. Like I don't just mean like to France, I mean like to India and places. She's all over the world and she does it. And it's just that you've got to be prepared. Just make your meals up if you're going somewhere. And I think once you get into the routine of it, and once you learn your food as well, like I said, I used to travel loads and I wouldn't always make all my food up. But I know if I stop off at a petrol station, I know that I can buy chicken that's pre-cooked. I know that I can buy a salad and I can buy some sort of carb sauce that's fairly clean, whether that's like a banana or something or whatever. And I think it's just learning your food, your macros, and just being like prepared and then just training. But I think people will sit at home and they'll maybe watch like an hour, 2 hours of Netflix a night. Well, you could be in the gym then training. So, and then around work, you just find that routine around work. I used to work shifts. I used to do some early mornings, I used to do some late nights. If I was in the early morning, I wouldn't be training beforehand. But I just have my food made up. I'd go to work, I'd work, have obviously my food in my lunch breaks. And then as soon as I finished work, I'd head down to the gym, do that, go home, get everything ready for the next day. If I was working the evening shift, first thing in the morning. So I think you work it round. I have days now when I'm really busy where I've got like Wednesdays, I have like all my check-ins on a Wednesday, or most of them on a Wednesday. And then I work in the afternoon as well. But I plan on Wednesday as my rest day. So I'm not training on a Wednesday, but like in that break between the two, I take the dog out, go for a walk with him. If I got cardio to do, I'd go and do cardio then. So you work out that routine around your life, and then you just do it, I think.
Yeah, just do it.
Basically,
that makes total sense. So what is the difference in coaching technique or coaching style for strength training and bodybuilding?
Like,
yeah, there's going to be crossover, of course, but
yeah, like massively. If you're talking strength lifting, like to me, that's more kind of like powerlifting. So it's normally like the exercise selection is a lot more. If you're doing strength and you're doing like powerlifting, you're going to be doing squat, bench, dead, and you're basically training for those three movements. With bodybuilding, you're training a muscle to look a certain way. So essentially with bodybuilding, it doesn't matter how much you're lifting, because when you stand on stage, no one sits there and goes, well, how much can you squat? If you can squat more, like, you win. Like, no one cares. And I say this to people all the time, because people ego lift, right? And when you're ego lifting, you're not training that muscle group. You're just throwing some weight around. You're using momentum. You're using the wrong muscle, right? Bodybuilding is about connecting with the muscle and finding exercises that you connect well with. And then your training range, you're going to be doing anywhere between kind of 6 reps to maybe like 14, 16 reps, depend on the exercise, depend on how your body responds to like higher or lower volume. And then maybe between 2 to 3 sets, maybe 4 sets at a push on some exercises. But to be honest, it's a lot more machine work. It's a lot more isolation work. You still will have big compound lifts in there, but I don't know many bodybuilders that do like squats, like free bar squats, because the risk of injury is too much. The same as deadlifts, like some people do. But again, the risk of injury is more. So with bodybuilding, like I say this to people all the time, like if they're like, oh, I think this might hurt, but I'm happy to do it. I'm like, well, don't do it. If you think you're going to injure yourself, like, don't do it. Because if you're out because you've busted your knee or busted your back, right, and you can't train for 3-4 weeks, there's 3-4 weeks you're not growing. And like, what's the point? Do you know what I mean? With powerlifting, like, you have to do those lifts because that's part of your sport. Whereas with bodybuilding, you don't have to do any lifts. You just have to grow the muscle in whatever way works for you. So it's more about that injury prevention then. And then, like I said, finding the exercises that work for you and your body, learning like your kind of biomechanics and what works for you. Certain exercises are going to work great for some people, and then others it's not going to work and it's never going to work. So just leave it, go do something else. So I do think in some
general exercise, it just doesn't work.
Yeah, there's certain exercises that like I don't do because it doesn't work for me, but it will work for someone else. So they then probably want to do that.
That makes sense.
Absolutely.
And so recently you've started, is it a new venture? Because I saw it and I thought, oh, this is like going to be like a different avenue to go down.
No, it's not as such. I think like Rebranding was was essentially my logo from like when I used to PT in person, which was, I think that got made in like 2018, so it's old. Yeah. And it really reflects my business now. And also I wanted to pull my name away from it, because in the future, like, what if I wanted to bring other coaches on board, or what if I wanted to open up a gym, or all those things as well. I wanted to just pull my name from it. And also there is other things that I'm building on alongside it as well. But just get my service better to, for people to get more out of it and things. So yeah, I've rebranded. There's a website being launched this weekend, I think. So I'm just getting the final bits and pieces. And there's some other stuff coming alongside as well. But obviously, like anything you do, it takes time. There's so many ideas that I want to do and be able to push and whatever, but it just takes. The guy that's done my website, my logo and everything is a friend of mine as well. and he's not so much bodybuilding, but he's very much a businessman, which is great because I've got someone to talk to who isn't in the industry, but can see it very much from the business side. And I'm like, okay, Carl, this, like, what do you think of this? And he's like, I think you need to run with that. Like, maybe not so much that, like, run with this. So yeah, it's been really good. So there's definitely more things that are coming, but I don't think I could have sat back.
Isn't it? Yeah, it's a big risk doing things like that because it comes at a cost that it's your money, isn't it? Like that you're putting into that.
Yeah.
But you're looking forward to it.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And like, that's the thing. Like, I think it can be a risk, but also since rebranding, like I have had more people sign up. I have had more inquiries and things. And I think just it's little things like the way I do my social media now is a lot clearer. Whereas before it was just a bit like all over the place, even like just with fonts and things. Whereas I think where I've learned more and I want to put that into play, just having that rebrand and crash was really nice. So yeah, it cost some money, but I'm making the money back.
And we said we were going to talk about social media. How do you find it?
I hate it. I think because I'm not really passionate about it. Like, I don't really care if I've got 100 people following me on Instagram or I've got 100,000 people following me on Instagram. Like, that doesn't really bring me any joy. You know, some people like that means a lot to them. Like, to me, I'm like, I don't really care. And what I find difficult is as a coach, like you have to be very good at marketing now. And like the best coaches out there, I say the best coaches, the busiest coaches out there aren't necessarily the best coaches. They're the best marketers. Yeah. And I think that is like one thing at the moment that I just think, but it's backwards to me. I'm like, that's not how it should be. So obviously I'm having to get better at it all. But to me, it just takes time where I feel like I'm not necessarily, I try and put out a lot of educational content because I think that if I'm putting something out, it should be educational, because otherwise, like if you're just putting a random picture of you up on a photo shoot and being like, hey, and there's no substance behind it, like what's the point? Like I do this job because I want to help people, and I know I do help people, and I want to help people, whether that is to get on stage or whether that's with their hormones or whether that's just to get into the gym and feel better about themselves and lose weight and all of that business. That's why I do it. Whereas I think social media, a lot of the time, you're not necessarily like helping people. They're just showing everyone like what outfit they got today and how they made their coffee. Like, yeah. So it's a bit one of them with me. I'm a bit like, I don't know.
Because I think just from talking to you and learning more about what it's like to coach bodybuilders, where social media comes in, it is purely a lot of it is purely aesthetic. And I appreciate that sort of coaching that you're doing, but it's more than that, isn't it?
Massively, yeah.
But there's massively. there must, you're probably dealing with a lot of people who've got a lot of, I don't know what the time is where they're like worried about their body.
Yeah.
I mean, that's massive in males, as well as females. But obviously I can only talk as a male. I'm a terrible sufferer.
Yeah. And I think like, that's the thing. I think you're running something that has to be aesthetic. And when you look at like the analytics and things, like you'll always do better when you'll always get more eyes on you when you're leaner, and you put a training video up when you're lean versus when you're like deep in off season, things like that. Whereas actually, like you said, like, yes, I coach bodybuilders and you're coaching essentially for a look, but you don't get that look from just going to the gym. Like you have to work on your mindset as well. And especially when you go for a prep, it's not just a sense of physically doing it. Like the physical doing it isn't difficult. I could probably say to someone that's never even been to the gym before, like, right, you're going to do one day in my life doing the food and the walking that you have to do to get your steps in and the cardio and the training. And they could do like a day doing that and they'd probably be like, all right, yeah, cool. And that's fine. But when you're doing it day in, day out, like mentally, you have to be quite strong to do that. And it can be really, really difficult. Because like one day on like really low food and really high cardio is fine. But when you're doing that for weeks at a time, like you are drained. You are absolutely exhausted. You feel rough. And then you still got to get up and you still got to do your cardio and you still got to train and you still got to go to work and you still got to look after the kids or the dog or whatever it might be. So mentally, like you've got to be in such a good place for that. So it is difficult, but like, how do you get that across through social media? Because no one wants to look at a video of someone crying and being like, this is shit. And to be honest, I'm not a crier anyway, and I'm not a crying on social media person, but no one wants to see that.
Yeah.
So if you put that up, like, no one cares. They want to see the glamorous side of it. And I do think that bodybuilding's grown, but it's grown. And I do think that a lot of people get on stage now because it looks great on social media, and they don't necessarily realize how tough it actually is.
No, I can only imagine for you to be coaching this level of people, that must be tough on you as well.
I don't know. I enjoy what I do, so I don't think it is. I mean, there's some days when it's like, what I find is this week, I've had a great week. Like, everyone's fine. But then I'll have weeks where everyone's having a meltdown. And I think that you then got to, regardless of what's going on in your life, you've got to put that aside to be there for them. And I think that's maybe
when you
also
earn
where
your
I
money,
don't.
basically.
Well, no, because I like you want to be there for them as well. But I think like when we were saying earlier, like I do put elements of my personal life on social media. Of course I do, because it's part of me. That's who I am as a coach. But there's also things that I don't put on there. And I think if I put on there every time I was having a bad day, a lot of my clients maybe wouldn't then come to me because they were like, oh no, she's having a bad day. I don't want to go to her with my issues and make them worse. And I do speak to them if things come up that are really not today. I'll say, look, guys, I've had it like I'm at a funeral today or whatever. And they're really respectful, but I wouldn't ever put up everything that's going on in my life because I feel like people might not come to you when they need it, and like that's my job, right? Essentially, that they're paying me to be there when they're having a bad day.
And I guess effectively, your job on social media is not to be an entertainer, is it? You're there because you're a coach. Whereas I think that's where I struggle to sort of understand from other people's perspective, because I don't know what I am. I just put whatever I fancy on there to do with the podcast.
That's what it is.
Predominantly,
I think that's what it is. You put yourself on there as who you are, and people come to your podcast because they like who you are. They like what you're talking about.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And in a previous episode, somebody said that basically they use social media as just a portfolio of their work. So it's I just thought it was such a good way of saying it, because for you, putting your coaching on there is a portfolio of your work.
Yeah, massively.
I'm with you. I really struggle with it. There's so many different ones. Trying to reach the right people my thing is that I'm so proud of the work that I do, and that I'm really protective over my guests, and I want every episode to do well for them. That when I put a video on, nobody watches it. I'm like, why? It's really good. I'm hilarious. So how much time do you have like to yourself? Like with Ricky, just doing that sort of stuff?
It depends week on week. I think because I coach posing as well, that's so weird. Some weeks I can be literally fully booked. And then other weeks I will have one person all week. Like, it's ridiculous.
Okay.
So I think it's very much like, and I think this is like anyone that's self-employed will say the same, like you just take work when it comes, because next week I don't work on. We tend to like weekends. I do like a weekend a month in Gloucester, teaching posing at Alpha. And then I try and do one weekend day up at Crayford, teaching there. But then the rest of the time, we try and keep weekends free for us then. Because once the show season starts, we'll be at shows every weekend. So yeah, try now for it to be pretty chill.
So what would you say is the future for Fortitude?
I want to obviously like I want to reach my kind of cap in numbers. The posing side, I've got an idea of what I do with that. And then eventually, like I would want to bring other coaches on board under me, probably more lifestyle coaches, because I do coach some lifestyle, but I'm better with bodybuilders than what I am with lifestyle clients. And I feel there are people that I think would then with my help as well, would be able to coach that better.
Okay.
So yeah, I think that's mainly where I want to go with it.
That's cool. So basically grow the brand.
Yeah, and like I want to help more people. Like that's the main thing. Get more girls on stage. I've got certain goals that I want with placings and stuff as well. I think that's the main thing, is just getting more people on stage, more people winning shows, and then go from there with it. I guess you just set your goals each year upon year of, okay, this time I want someone to win a show, right? And then it's like, I want someone to win an overall, and then I want someone to win an overall at a bigger show or a British Championship or something like that. So I guess it's just setting the goals like that. And
well, Molly, thank you so much. I really, really appreciate you taking the time out. So there we have it, everyone. I really, really hope you enjoyed that. For now, cheers.